we just started exposing the excipients, the inactive ingredients.
Yeah.
These things that are not good. I mean, titanium dioxide it's banned in Europe. Like it causes DNA damage and they don't need to be in your supplement. We've seen an explosion on Amazon of these kind of brands that are just quickly coming to market because there's no real thing stopping you from bringing a supplement to market. There's a big difference in the FDA around the federal code between pharmaceuticals and supplements. Supplements are covered under Federal Code 21 CFR 111, right?
And what is that?
And that's basically that, like, for pharmaceuticals, there's a whole process that they have to get pre-approved following CGMP standards and all these different things.
That's good manufacturing standards.
Yeah, current good manufacturing process. With supplements, it's not something that gets done up front. You can be held to this standard retroactively, like if something comes up, but it's kind of up to you to just say
you're self-policing.
You can get retroactively, someone can say they're having a negative experience, report it with the FDA. They can come after you for not following the practice, but no one's checking up front.
I mean, the amount of attention that the FDA pays to this is very, very little unless there's some serious adverse effect.
Correct.
Or somebody has this problem with it.
Right. And those latent things you're talking about, the like ones that might be heavy metal exposure that take a long time to ever show up or you don't know the source of it, there's no guideline there.
I mean, a friend of mine was a researcher, and he actually analyzed Ayurvedic supplements and found extremely high levels of heavy metals in them.
Totally.
So you're taking some Ayurvedic herb, which is some natural product, and it hasn't been tested properly. And when they actually tested it, it was full of heavy metals.
And even if you follow CGMP, you're supposed to occasionally test your lots. I think it's like once a year. And then even then, they don't provide the guidance on heavy metals. It's like kind of up to you to be like, well, for this type of product, what should Prop 65 helps a little bit, in terms of making sure you don't have to put the label on there if you exceed those numbers. But it's a pretty wild west, to be perfectly honest. And there are systems now that can say, come up with an idea and a brand and get a supplement and market in weeks. So that's why you're seeing the explosion.
Yeah.
So we've gone in and we've taken 29 different points and we've built a scoring system.
This is your trust score.
This is our trust score.
So basically you're taking 29 different attributes, whether it's toxic.
Lot testing, CGMP, if whether the biggest one that makes a difference is whether or not you're getting a third party to certify your CGMP practices, right? That's like kind of like the fundamental. So instead of you just saying, yeah, I'm good, I'm going to self-certify that I'm following these practices. Yeah. There's NSF and UL, these two big, firms that'll come in and do what you are doing, go tour the facilities, kind of make sure you're actually following, give you a certification. Yeah. That's like a fundamental big one. And there's a surprising number of brands that don't follow it.
And that means that the manufacturing plant is clean.
Oh yeah.
The way they get source the ingredients.
They're testing each lot, and like there's a lot, to that to figure it out.
That's true. When I started in this field in functional medicine 30 years ago, there were a handful of professional brands that were only marketed and sold through professionals, doctors, nutritionists, and so forth, chiropractors, and you couldn't get them otherwise.
Interesting. Yeah.
You couldn't get like Metagenics or Thorne or Pure Encapsulations. They only distributed them through professionals because they were higher level, higher grade, a little more expensive, but you get what you pay for. So, for example, Pure Encapsulations, they actually test every single product, every lot, and what we do it before they make the stuff with the ingredients, and they do it after. Yep. And if it says, it's supposed to say 400 milligrams of, let's say, magnesium on the label, if it's 350, they throw it out.
Metagenics, who you brought up, is our 10 out of 10. They're our highest scoring brand on the platform.
Yeah.
They do like one thing that is rare, but we give some points to it is they make every batch test COA publicly available. So you can like look at your bottle, look at the lot number, go online, pull it up and see the results from the test. That's like a gold standard for us. Pure ranks very highly and but then there's a big spectrum, you know?
I mean, and the stuff that you get in the grocery store or at Walmart or the drugstore is generally crap. Like you sent me the other day, texted me a screenshot of Centrum.
Yeah,
which is this massive advertising. It's really a big product out there. Everybody thinks Centrum. It's high quality. It's good. I mean, but they've got. Why do you take a blue pill or a red pill or have titanium dioxide or have dyes and chemicals?
Yeah, that was a super interesting thing about that Centrum pill in particular is that like the Centrum brand ranking is pretty high, but we just started exposing the excipients, the inactive ingredients.
Yeah.
And it had titanium dioxide, red 40, red 5, like these things that, I'm sorry, yellow 5. These things that are that are not good. I mean, titanium dioxide is not, it's banned in Europe, you know, like it causes DNA damage and they don't need to be in your supplements. So that's another thing we just rolled out, was not just the manufacturing standards, but now we're going down to the product level and actually going in. We have like forget how many, it's a couple thousand of these excipients that get added, and ranking them out by, you know, how cautious you should be about them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff in them that we often are not known. Like there could be gluten or dairy, like lactose, or other things that are in these, in addition to all the other kind of excipients, fillers, additives, colors, chemicals, things that make it look good or stick together. And I mean, you don't want that crap. You want the nutrient.
And I think it's going to be interesting. We're starting to send out, you know, different supplements for our own independent testing to do what you were saying, just kind of like verify that even if they're highly rated, is it actually in there what they say it is, right? So the precision of the nutrients that they're claiming are in there. It's a complicated market. And I think that what we've done, though, by just making a simple score, like making it out of 10, is like, it makes it really easy for people to understand, right? The simple like red, yellow, green, like you can go deep and you can go look at each of the 29
Your
points.
Score
and you
is
can go,
1 to 10. Like this is a 9, this is a 2.
That has been helpful for people to just like simply take a glance. Because the user base we have, you know, one thing I like doing in general when designing software is it's got to be easy enough for grandma to use, but powerful enough for, you know, the most hardcore user in the space to go deep on. Right. I did that with Splice, making sure that 40% of top 40 music using it to create music. They're like the hardcore guys and the brand new music creators. Right. So we're doing this in supplements, right? There's a way to dive way deep into what those 29 points are and each one of the excipients and all that. Or you can simply look at the score at the top and be like, okay, that feels good. Because some people just, we got to meet the consumers where they are.
Because nobody's really doing that. There was a company called Consumer Labs that I used to kind of use to reference stuff where they would go and test products, and I would rely on their independent analysis. But you know, they weren't able to do the 200,000 products. So you basically, just for the simple scan of the barcode, the technology behind it, the use of AI. I mean, it's quite amazing now. You can literally see what is the problem or how good a product is and whether or not it's actually says what it is on the label.
Yeah. And like, I think the big thing too is like, we're not out here we just want to kind of arc the industry in the right direction, right? Like some of our trust scores, if we find a negative one, we're not all doing the big gotcha, you know, story on it. We're having conversations. A lot of the brands have reached out to us. First, the top end brands are like, thank you, right? Thank you for simplifying and raising to the attention how much work we are putting into testing this. So like super appreciative. You know, sometimes they'll clarify a piece of data that we might not have right because we've collected it through our teams, you know, reaching out to them, and they might provide something, which is great. And then we've had brands also reaching out. One, they want their trust score because the consumers are starting to care about this. And then how do we make it better, right? And that's our big dream. If we can just help the industry move in the right direction on this with the scores, I think we've done, you know, something really great.
If you love that last video, you're going to love the next one. Check it out here.